Have you ever thought about what is in the water you drink, the water you swim in? What if I told you that it contains very harmful estrogen compounds? Estrogen presence in our water supply is a worldwide public health issue, and it really needs to be addressed. So due to a large consumption and excretion of estrogen between both animals and humans, it is necessary that we adjust our wastewater treatment plan in order to remove that harmful estrogen and protect our health. So in this speech, I want to talk about how estrogen is released into our environment, how it causes adverse health effects in aquatic life and possibly humans, and how we need to improve our wastewater treatment plan so that we can protect our health. So a CAFO is a primary site where estrogen is released into the environment. And a CAFO is a concentrated animal feeding operation. The United States Environmental Protection Agency defines a CAFO as facilities where large numbers of poultry, swine, cattle, and other types of animals are confined within a much smaller area than traditional pasture operations. So as you can see in this picture, there are thousands of pigs housed in this CAFO. They're housed right here. And so in our case, pigs are fed growth hormones in order to speed up their development so that they're ready for slaughter very fast, so that we can breed them and kill them and eat them very fast. And in that feed, they're given estrogen, a lot of it. When they excrete that estrogen into the environment, it goes down like tubes into these what are called lagoons. And the waste is taken there and it sits in the lagoon until it is put to use. Dr. Amy Sapkota, a research associate who works here at the School of Public Health at the University of Maryland, says that on average, total animal waste is 1.4 billion tons per year. And that just in swine waste alone, there's hundreds of millions of waste. So this waste seeps into our water supply through runoff or lagoon leakage. So as this waste is just sitting here disgustingly floating in these lagoons, it is seeping into the ground and into our soil and into our water supply. And this can cause adverse health effects in animals and possibly humans. So we excrete, especially animals, a lot of waste per year. And so the bottom line is that we need to figure out how to better remove this estrogen. So now that we know how and why CAFOs are a main source of estrogen, let's talk about the possible adverse health effects on animals. So like I said, estrogen has many negative health effects on aquatic life and possibly humans. And currently, they're mostly seen in aquatic life. So I provided two case studies, scientific case studies. This first one is by Susan Jobling and her colleagues at the American Chemical Society. And they explain that estrogen is considered to be an endocrine disrupting compound. And an endocrine disrupting compound is basically what it sounds like. It's harmfully affecting your endocrine system. They found that a surprisingly large proportion of the male fish were intersex, meaning that they contain both male and female organs. And so they're feminized. So this is just a graph, a visual of their findings. So these controls were the streams that had very, very little estrogen in the water, probably very far away from wastewater plants. And then downstream sites where the areas where there was a lot of estrogen presence. And as you can tell, in control sites, they found, less than 25% of the fish were intersex. Whereas in these estrogen sites, some of them even had 100% of the male fish that were found to be intersex. And so they concluded that populations of fish will die off because there's no reproduction, because male and female fish cannot mate. So in our second case study by Ana Correa, she basically did a follow-up case study with her colleagues, and she analyzed the way different types of fish react to estrogen. So over here on the left we have sand goby, and sand goby was found to have impaired maturation and reproductive behavior, which affects its endocrine system. So just like the other fish, it wasn't developing correctly. And these male fat-headed minnow over here had a lack of sexual differentiation. So that basically means that they were intersex fish because they weren't all male and they weren't all female. They had a combination of those organs. So now that we understand the negative health ramifications with estrogen, let's talk about our current wastewater treatment plan. Rachel Rosenberg, she's also a graduate student here, explained the preliminary treatment, which is where big like bottles and branches are removed from the water, big objects. Then we have the primary treatment, which is the separation of liquid and solid fat fractions in the water, so anything that's floating on the water is removed. And in both of those stages, very little estrogen is removed. Then we have our secondary treatment, which is the minimum level of treatment required by the Clean Water Act. It removes a lot of the estrogen, but not all of the estrogen. And then we're pushing for the FDA to make tertiary treatment, which is the final step, mandatory, because that removes the most estrogen. So even though some critics believe that estrogen is not really harmful to humans, we need to remember that this is very harmful to animals. And if animals are showing signs harmful adverse health effects, then that can be the same for humans. So we talked about CAFOs and how they release estrogen into the environment, the harmful effects of estrogen on aquatic life, and how we need to improve our wastewater treatment plan. So the next time you take a sip of water, you may want to think about where it came from and what